What is going on, guys? We're back playing some more Surviving with Thaumcraft 5. Today, guys, we're going to be discussing unlocking the Eldritch Revelations page. So last episode we discussed unlocking the Eldritch tab in general, and that came along with just unlocking Eldritch Epiphany. Now that was basically just get a bunch of non-temporary warp and you will eventually unlock it. And we got most of this through just doing our research and crafting a couple items. Now there are a lot of different ways people go about getting this, but that's how we got it. It wasn't too difficult. We kind of just stumbled across it. Now we spent last episode getting the void metal, making some gear, and we pretty much called it a day. Well, I have a little bit of bad news to tell you guys. Unlocking the Eldritch Epiphany is actually the easier part of doing the Eldritch stuff. Basically, the next one that you have to do is an Eldritch Revelation, which requires like double the amount of warp on your character, and it's going to unlock it's going to be to the left of this right here, and you need it to progress in this if you want to go to the outer lands, if you want to make better armor, all that different stuff. So there's a couple things that I did off camera to help us prep for this, and we're going to be discussing some of the more effective ways to actually go about unlocking it today. So you might have noticed that we have two new things that have been unlocked in this tab, and that is the Sanity Check and the Crimson Cult. Now the Crimson Cult is something that you find, so you do have to get it, and I got it off camera. But basically there's a bunch of Crimson Cult guys. You can usually find them around obelisks, but you're going to kill them. I believe there's clerics and knights. And those are the only two that I ran into. I don't know. I think there's a third one, but basically you're going to kill them. They've got like 15 armor for the knight and like 15 HP. They take a fair bit of time to kill, but they can drop their armor. They can drop the Crimson Cult. I only got the Crimson Cult from them, unfortunately. The armor looks pretty cool. I don't know how good it is, but it looks pretty cool. But once you get this, I have mine right over here. All you need to do, I mean, it looks pretty cool, but all you need to do is right click with it and you will get that research. So I'm going to throw it in here. You really don't need to do anything with it. It doesn't open up like an actual book, but it says the book is filled with strange symbols, and you can click to study it. So that's what you need to get the Crimson Cult research right here. And it says, much of the book is written in a spidery and unintelligible script, but what you do understand offers some strange insight into the goals of the Crimson Cult. And basically, this is how you're going to start going to the Outer Lands, which is kind of like the end game goal. End game bosses are there for all of Thaumcraft. So we've got that. Now we need to go over the Sanity Check. Now, unfortunately, I did not remember to do the research on camera. It is very easy. I believe it goes from Ignis, Census, and something else, maybe Tenebrae, to actually go to the center. It's very small, really easy to do. But if you have any questions about it, feel free to post those in the comments. But once you get this unlocked, it basically says things have become busy in your mind lately. It is probably best to have a look inside. So what this is going to allow us to do is see what's going on in our messed up head that keeps having all these headaches and all this stuff due to all the warp we are getting. So it's pretty easy to make. It takes mirrored glass, a Morphic Resonator, a zombie brain, and our Thaumaturge. Now we've already gotten the Morphic Resonator and Thaumaturge, so going out and getting a zombie brain and mirrored glass was relatively easy. Now, of course, using the Thaumaturge, we won't be able to use it for anything else like scanning stuff, but luckily I think we've already scanned everything we need to, so we should be good to go. Now, one thing that we have to do is remember that when we go to do infusions, we have to swap out our helmet, because right now we have yet to combine the Void Helm and the Goggles of Revealing. We will be able to do that later, but we haven't done it yet, so if I want to be able to see what's going on in all of these void jars over here, I need to be able to wear the goggles. So if we look at the recipe for this, it is an Arcane Infusion. It does have moderate instability. It takes 24 Senses and Cognito and then 8 Alienus. And unfortunately, I only have one of every different part of this. Now, of course, the Thaumaturge is not going to disappear. But if any of these three pop off and disappear, I'm going to have to make more. And I don't know if I have what I need to make more. Specifically, the Morphic Resonator. Actually, we might. We might have the stuff to make that. But let's not risk it. So let's try and get this right. Now there's 3 of them, so we're kind of in an odd spot right here, but we can just we'll throw down the Thaumaturge in the center. We'll do the mirrored glass. Now, one thing that I guess, I don't know where I'd put the other one. We'll just put it down like we'll put it down over here, just to try and balance it out. So we got the 3 right here. We'll get out our Silverwood staff. And that should be good to go. If we want to check over here, we've got 24 Cognito at least. Yep. 24 Census. Yep. Barely. And 20 Alienus. Okay, so we should be good to go. We're going to have to keep an eye on all of this. I really hope none of it pops off and gets destroyed. I don't think it'll take that long because there's really not much going into it, but once we have this, we'll be able to see all of the stuff going on with the warp in our head and be able to see the different thresholds that we are going to have to go to get what we want today, which is of course the Eldritch Revelations tab, and then some research that we're going to do after that. Now, one thing I want to note is we're going to get all the stuff that we need to today to start going to the Outer Lands, but we're not actually going to go there today. We're going to save that for the last episode, which is going to be next episode. Then we'll have finished off basically everything except for a couple miscellaneous things. Of course, if we go back through these tabs in the Thaumaturge real quick, I know, if you guys are only here for the Eldritch or Revelation, then this is not really what you care about, but we've got 69, 68, 91, and 78. So we've pretty much completed everything that's relevant in these. There's miscellaneous things like elemental stabs and stuff, and like just extra cores, and like we haven't made the portable hull, which is pretty cool. But for the most part, we've gone through all the different stuff in tons of episodes about all of this. So we're finishing it off, and of course the Outerlands will be the last episode, and going around seeing all the stuff that we did. But what we need to do now is take this Sanity Checker, and if we look in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, you can see that is what's going on with our brain. I guess it kind of symbolizes it with the zombie brain, but yeah, we are currently sitting at that amount of warp, and I'm not going to guarantee that this is it, but what makes sense is that bottom of the two golden kind of like brackets on that is what you need to get the Eldritch Epiphany, which would make sense. We're basically right in the middle. We just got it unlocked. And then the next one is going to be what we need to get the Eldritch Revelation, and we're going to be trying to get up there today. Now, that might be wrong, but if I had to take a guess, I would say that's what it is. So we're going to be working for that, but maybe there'll be some good news and we will get it sooner. Now, there's a couple different ways that people go about getting a bunch of warp on their character, mainly permanent warp, as they, progress through the game. We've already talked about research that can get it, crafting things that can get it, but a lot of people will get a bunch of zombie brains and they will eat them as they play through the game, and they have a chance of giving you non-temporary warp. The only problem is you need to be hungry, and of course, we went out and killed a bunch of cows and got steak and cooked that up. When we got the Vampire Bat, like level 5 wand add-on for it, so I had a bunch of steak, I never ate zombie brains, and I don't really feel like running around and jumping to try and actually get the zombie brains and be able to eat them. So a way to go about doing this is to just craft a bunch of stuff that is from like forbidden magic, of forbidden crafting, that's going to give us warp, and that would be the bucket of liquid death. That's probably the easiest one that we can get. We've crafted it before. It's kind of annoying to craft. It requires, simply a bucket and a crucible. There's no infusions or anything, which is really nice, but it takes 32 vitreous, 32 mortis, and 32 perdicio. Now the perdicio is basically non-existent. You can get that super easy, especially if you're playing with other mods. You can get all this stuff really easy if you're playing with other mods, but playing alone, it took a fair bit of time to get because I had to get a bunch of stuff for mortis. Vitreous wasn't very bad. I just went into the nether. We can use the pick. You just right click on a wall. You can see where all of the nether quartz is, and then you can go mine it. It's pretty easy to do, but I don't know if I have enough for what we're going to do right now. I may have to go gather some and then hop back on camera and do a little bit more crafting. But if we look in this chest down here, we've got a bunch of stuff that I gathered. Obviously, we have to use cobblestone. We can't use stone. And I guess we can dump some extra stuff in there to pull all this out. Miscellaneous mob drops that I've gotten throughout my time. And there we go. So we've got some cinnabar, some cinnabar clusters. Never ended up cooking it down. It ends up giving us mortis, which is kind of odd in my opinion, but we'll go with it because we need it. So what we can do is we actually should have 64 in there right now because I believe I filled it up before we actually started the episode. So what we can check on is come over here, throw a bucket in, and we want to make a bucket of liquid death. So it should be filling it up. It's going to take a fair bit of time for that to fill up, but what we can do is come back over here. Also, if you're curious what that red thing is out there, that's a waypoint for an obelisk that I found relatively close to us, but we need to grab one more thing, and that is the iron up here, and we need to craft, I was going to say we need to craft a fair bit of buckets, but we actually don't have the inventory space right now, so let's dump this stuff out and this stuff out, and we'll make some buckets, because each craft is going to take a bucket for this. So alright, I guess it'll be fine starting out that we don't have that much room, but obviously they don't stack as far as I know when you actually have them, so we might need some more room for that. So right here, we don't have any perdicio. We really don't have any perdicio in here. I really hope I have a place for it to go. Wow, I actually don't think I have a place for it to go. Huh. That is odd. If I throw some cobble in here, let's see what happens. I don't think I have anywhere for Perdicio over here. Is it just going to sit in here? Huh. That is very interesting. I actually don't know how to empty a void jar either, because if you break it, they stay full. So let's take a look at how to make these. We haven't made these in a while. So we can just use glass in an arcane workbench and then a void jar. So we're just going to use a warded jar. We won't use a void jar for this. We're going to have to do a little bit of crafting, but it should not be an issue at all. So let's get out. We can use great wood. Should be able to use great wood at least. So we can do this, craft that, get our slabs, and there we go. Make that an impromptu crafting of this. There we go. Okay, so we got our warded jar for this one, and we can bring it over and replace one of these with it. So let's just get rid of, we'll get rid of the vacuos down here. We really don't need that. We'll throw that down, and the Perdicio should be going over there, and it'll basically immediately leave, so we can throw a full stack of our cobble in here. We can throw another stack in there too, because we're going to be doing this relatively consistently. So it'll be going in here, and once that fills up, it should be able to, yeah, start filling up the, what do we need? Vitreous for that. So I actually said I was going to do this on camera, but it's taking a fair bit of time. So I may do one on camera, and we'll see how much it raises it by. But there's no way, I have to do like 10 of these. There's no way I can do all those on camera without boring the crap out of you guys. So we will watch one complete. We'll see if it goes up a noticeable amount. Didn't actually see it go up that much, but I was planning on doing roughly 14 of these. So I will go do anywhere from 10 to 14 of these off camera. We will check back, see where things got us, and hopefully it will get us to where we need to be. Okay guys, so we are back now. I just unlocked the Eldritch Revelations. It basically is just like any other, warp effect that you have. You get the heart beating, you get the screen darkening around the edges, and it just says that you have unlocked it in chat. Now, it took longer than expected, so I would never suggest you do this again. Basically, the reason that it's now been like 3 or 4 days since the last video is not because I've really been that busy. It is because gathering the resources for this was awful. It was awful. Now, I don't really think there are a ton of better ways to do this, but like eating zombie brains and stuff as you progress through the game would be a nice way to kind of circumvent having to make like half of these. I know, fighting certain things, as far as I'm aware, can get you warp. A lot of people have told me that they went out and started fighting things near the obelisk, and those can get them warp. I'm not too sure about those. I don't want to say things that I don't know, but I know this works, and it's really not bad to get all this stuff if you got a mob farm, if you've got, any kind of automatic mining, machine that you could use to get nether quartz or anything. Diamonds work very well for vitreous, all that stuff. But yeah, so we have managed to get this, so it's a full chest and then 1 to go from the unlocking of the Eldritch Epiphany to the Eldritch Revelation. So it's a fair bit. Now we can throw the Void Helm back on. That actually would, oh, we have Flux Flu. That'll up our warp a little bit, but if we go to the Sanity Checker, we can see that we have surpassed the second bracket, and now we are basically, I would say, 5/6 to 7/8 of the way through this up there. It did take a very long time. I went and watched some of The Office on Netflix, but now we have done that, and we should be good to look in the book and see what's going on over here. So, as you can see, we now have 2 different unlocked researches from this. We've got what I was talking about last episode, which was the Void Thaumaturge robes, which you can make pretty much our upgrades from the Void Metal that we're currently wearing, and we can combine a lot of things with them to kind of empower them, such as the Goggles of Revealing, which is really nice, but we're not going to get into that today. I'll probably do that off camera because it's just a bunch of infusions. What we're going to talk about today is Opening the Eye. Now, this one is Forbidden Knowledge Taboo. I actually don't know what that means. But basically this is going to get us to the Outer Lands. Imagine when you're opening the portal to the Outer Lands, which requires an obelisk, think of it being the same as opening a portal to the End, where you need a bunch of the Ender Eyes to actually open it. So that's what we're going to be doing with this. except we're going to be crafting them slightly differently. So we're going to come over here and get a piece of paper. Now, a lot of stuff got dumped in here throughout the time. So yeah, some of my paper got dumped in there, some of this, some of my tools, all that good stuff. Surprisingly, the biggest issue was killing things, like skeletons. So we waited a little bit for the mob farm to work. That's really what took so long to get all this stuff. But yeah, so we can come and do some research now. And actually, we got to go over here and do opening the eye. So get the research for that. Throw it in here. Now this one, I mean, it's pretty small, but there's a lot in here. So let's see what we got to do for this. I think it's actually fun to show this on camera now. When I first started the series, I didn't actually get how this worked, but it's actually relatively easy. So this one, let's do Lux. And that can easily connect to Ignis right here. This one we can do Vacuos. And, how do we want to do this? We can do Vacuos. And then Air. Connect all those. Then here we can do Vacuo. Oh, I already had a Vacuos. But we can do Vacuos and then Perdicio. And here we can do Air again. So there we have it connected. I actually think that's a decent amount of stuff to connect it, a decent amount of aspects to connect it. Didn't get too messy. So there we go. You can just pause the video on that if you need it. We gain a little bit more warp, and we have opening the eye. So the only other things that we have would be the outer lens, which is we are not in Kansas anymore, haha, funny, and the sinister lodestone. So if we look at opening the eye, and we're going to get into this next episode because I have to gather a lot of ender pearls. You can see it takes an Eye of Ender, a Void Seed, and gold ingot. So it doesn't take that much to get the Eldritch Eye. And basically what it says is it was all so simple. You are amazed the Crimson Cultists have never discovered this. So basically we're better than the Crimson Cultists at this point. But to perform the ritual, you simply need to place 4 Eldritch Eyes on the specifically marked keystone found at one of the strange altars where you first discover the cult, which would be one of the obelisks. We already have one marked. Once this is done, it is a simple matter of infusing a large amount of Primal V into the keystones with a wand. 500 units of each should be sufficient. One thing I'll have to look into is if it works. It says wand. I wonder if we can use staff, because the Silverwood staff would work fine, but I don't know if we can actually use it. But we'll be using that, and that is what will get us to the outer lens. And then there's a little bit more research we can complete there. I'll have done this research by next episode, because we're going to want to wear those when we go in there, have as much defense as possible, because we're not going to be sure which boss we'll run into. We'll make our way through there, and that will be the end of the series. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please feel free to give it a like, as it does help me out a lot. And I will talk to you guys later.